In South Carolina's Low Country, where disgraced attorney and convicted killer Alec Murdaugh has been indicted on 22 new financial fraud crimes. These brand new federal charges are stemming from the allegations that we've heard about in the way of him stealing from his clients. Murdaugh is also awaiting trial on around 100 other state crimes. Allegations of insurance fraud, tax evasion, theft, in a pending drug trafficking case. And then, of course, there are the civil cases. Tonight, we're going to dig into all of this together. We start by looking back at a moment from his murder trial when he was confronted about the financial crimes while he was on cross-examination.
There were plenty of conversations where I looked people in the eye and I lied to them. There were plenty of times where I took money that I shouldn't have taken. There were plenty of times where I stole money. I can remember a lot of times where I lied to my clients, I misled my clients, and I stole money from my clients in conversations.
How despicable and pants on fire. Let's break this all down, especially those latest developments, shall we? In the studio with me, Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson is here. Good evening, my friend. Talk to us, please, about this brand new indictment, if you would.
Now facing federal charges, Court TV has been digging through this document all day long, and it's a little bit of snooze fest, but the big takeaway is this is the first federal charges, Julie.
That's
and of course, nice to see you tonight. So he's accused of stealing from those clients, you know, his former clients when he was an attorney, and now the federal government stepping in. This indictment was released yesterday, and we're just getting wind of what those federal charges are. They include indictment charges of 14 counts money laundering, 5 counts wire fraud, 1 count bank fraud, 1 count conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 1 count conspiracy to commit bank fraud. Murdaugh's attorneys, Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin, released a statement after, quote, Alec has been cooperating with the United States Attorney's Office and federal agencies in their investigation, and we anticipate that the charges brought today will be quickly resolved without trial. So, you know, you're the attorney right here. So I'm assuming that that means that this is going to be pled out.
You got it, my friend. You're so smart. That's exactly what they're indicating. They're indicating that he is going to plead, as he should, after he admitted to the world that he did these crimes. I mean, then again, how can anybody believe a word he says, because he is such a liar? But we can expect a plea here, but the ramifications of that, Matt, too. I mean, these could be far-reaching ramifications, as you know. Speaking of pleas, I understand one of his buddies took a plea today?
Right. Breaking news today, one of his longtime friends. This was also his roommate in college and former attorney there, and this is his buddy, fellow friend, co-conspirator Cory Fleming.
Oh, wow.
So today, the ex-lawyer pleaded guilty, conspiracy to commit wire fraud in federal court, facing 5 years in prison. He's out on bond right now. Says that he helped Alex steal nearly $4 million in the wrongful death settlement that involves that Gloria Satterfield case, where she died at the Moselle property after allegedly tripping over the dogs. And then Alec now trying to walk that back. So, you know, that still could be up in the air.
Right.
But this guy is also told by prosecutors that he will have to testify if called.
Oh, boy. Okay. So Alec Murdaugh, assuming he's going to plead too, just like his buddy Cory Fleming did, let's talk about what happens to all of his money, because in that indictment, there are some provisions. The feds are really specific about what's going on with his money.
Well, first off, you know, who knows if he's going to have seek different counsel, because recently, just within the past couple days, his current attorneys, Harpootlian and Griffin, were denied a motion by a judge to access some of the funds, $160,000, to pay their attorney fees that are ongoing, because they spent more than $600,000, but they wanted to take it out of his retirement account, and that was denied. So who knows if they're going to move forward. But this 28-page document, this federal document, it's page 26 that really sticks out, and there it is, the forfeiture. So the forfeiture talks about freezing assets. Could impact judgments related to pending civil cases involving that boat crash at Mallory Beach. In breaking news tonight, we know that that case is now going to be scheduled for August 14th of this year. That's in Hampton County. Murdaugh's estate and the court clerk who sold Paul Murdaugh the alcohol the night that Beach was killed are being sued. But this document says that basically any monies that were collected from wrongdoing could be an asset to the federal government, and then probably dispersed to victims that are known victims.
Right. Oh boy. And that's really what's sad about this, because there are many victims out there who deserve to be compensated. They'll probably never see a dime, is the reality of this. This is really sad. Matt, can we talk a little bit about some of the other cases? Because not only were you there during the trial when he was lying his face off and confessing to all these financial crimes, you got to talk to a lot of people affected by this, many of his own family members. I mean, you were talking to everybody. Let's touch on some of these other cases that are outstanding. Cousin Eddie, that's a big one, right? The drug trafficking case.
Yeah, he's a big one. Remember him? He gained 55 pounds in jail, in custody.
How does that happen?
I don't know. Recently, he was let out on bond. He was allowed bond, and he is under house arrest. He's facing several charges, including drug trafficking and also suicide for hire plot. Those are a couple of the charges with Alec Murdaugh. That's just one of the pending cases. You already talked about the 100 state charges related to insurance fraud and tax evasion. You have the federal cases. You have the civil case involving the boat crash. And then still no indication yet, but it's kind of looming out there, and the rumors there in Colleton County, my contacts, keep on bringing up the Murdaugh's names with Stephen Smith. Remember, that 19-year-old died not too far from the Moselle property, and recently his mother raised $100,000 to exhume his body and perform a private autopsy through a GoFundMe. And now she's offering a $35,000 reward for information leading to his death. But, you know, there was talk about the fact that Murdaugh was there at the scene at one point with one of his brothers, who is also an attorney, Randy
Murdaugh,
And then Stephen Smith was also connected to the Murdaughs because he was a classmate, former classmate of Buster. Again, no charges with the Murdaughs. But there's this looming, what happened to Stephen? And will they be involved? Because that investigation reopened during the investigation of the murders of Maggie and Paul.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, it always struck me as very suspicious that Alec Murdaugh and his brother Randy were there at that scene.
And why?
Yeah, a part-time prosecutor. Are you kidding me? He's a civil lawyer, or was a civil lawyer before he lost his practice.
And why that early? Because if you're saying, you know, if something happened to your son, you need representation, you know, we'll help you with that. Why are you there at the scene of the crime? That should happen later.
Exactly, Matt. I know you were all over this, following developments and everything that has to do with Alec Murdaugh. Thank you so much for this big update tonight. We'll talk again very soon. And I want to welcome in now on the program some great guests tonight who are all joining us from Columbia, South Carolina. They are certainly no strangers to the many cases, old and new, involving Alec Murdaugh. Let's welcome in criminal defense attorney and the attorney for Connor Cook in the Murdaugh boat crash case, Joe McCullough, the attorney for both the Satterfield case and Stephen Smith's family, and the host of the Cup of Justice podcast, Eric Bland, is on the show. And criminal defense attorney Lori Murray is with us as well. Lori, Eric, and Joe, it's wonderful to see the three of you tonight. Thank you so much for being with us. Oh boy, so let's talk about what happens with this case. Assuming that Alec Murdaugh pleads, assuming that the feds want to take everything he's got left, what about the many victims? That's who I'm thinking about tonight. So let's just kind of go around talking about everything that is pending right now. A lot of talk about the boat crash case. Let's begin there, please, Joe McCullough, where you're representing Connor Cook. Does this concern you that you can't get water from a dry well?
Well, the sinkhole continues. Despite the best efforts of these receivers that were appointed by the court to find money, none has been found. So the fact that the federal government now intervenes and requests forfeiture of assets found, I just don't know that there are any. So that doesn't particularly concern me. The far more interesting part of that story is the reaction of the state attorney general's office to the indictments by the federal government, and their press release had an odd tone to it. It's almost as if Murdaugh has become a fire hydrant, and they're the first dog to get to the hydrant. So they seemed awfully defensive, and that's curious to me. Federal government has powers and abilities well beyond the state of South Carolina, but we'll have to see.
Sure. Eric Bland, let me go to you next, please, my friend. We've talked a lot. You've been kind enough to join us on the morning show many days. We've talked about both the case involving Gloria Satterfield, the beloved housekeeper of the Murdaughs, and then also Stephen Smith and all the questions surrounding his case. So let's take them in turn, starting with the Satterfield case, please. We know recently Alec Murdaugh's been trying to walk back all kinds of different lies, and what a mess he's making in the court system, saying that it wasn't the dogs that did this. Talk to me, is that to evade financial responsibility?
Yeah, that's his lawyers making those allegations. He's not done that under oath. He hasn't done it by affidavit or verified petition. This is just more prattle by Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin. This is a man that's committed a fraud on, according to his own words, Judge Mullen twice in 2018 and 2019 in connection with the Satterfield case, and then in connection with Judge Hall when he gave the confession of judgment to the Satterfields of $4.3 million in May of 2022, which his lawyers negotiated for 5 months before then. So what he's essentially saying is, I've committed frauds on the court. I've killed the only 2 witnesses to the fall of Gloria Satterfield. But now you need to believe me when I tell you that even though I've said all along to courts and to insurance adjusters, and my wife and son said that the dogs caused the fall, now my lawyers in pleadings and in motions are saying the dog didn't cause the fall. Let me off the confession of judgment. Let me keep the $3.8 million that I stole from Nautilus Insurance Company, as well as Lloyd's of London, and go after the Satterfields, who sued a whole bunch of other people, not Nautilus Insurance Company, but a whole bunch of other people, and recovered money from them, got releases, and get the money from them and get it from Bland Richter. It's legal toilet paper what these people are filing in court. They're going to now outbox themselves. They're going to get hit with sanctions, and they're going to get hit with an abusive process lawsuit. As far as the federal government trying to get the money, Joe is a little wrong. The receivers have recovered almost $1 million that will be put into a state court. I doubt that the federal government is going to be able to grab that money before it's distributed by the state. The more interesting thing to me is that Dick said that Alex is cooperating. Cooperating doesn't mean plead guilty. Cooperating means, is he finally talking? Is he talking about other lawyers? Is he talking about other powerful people to try to get some?
You think he's talking? Because, you know, I don't know how he can do anything else but plead here to this, especially after he made all those admissions under oath and have a big, long perjury case on his hands there.
He knows a lot.
So you think, what do you think he can offer,
Fleming
Eric?
Pled guilty today.
What do you think Alec Murdaugh could offer?
He can offer up other lawyers. Maybe there's judges. Maybe there's people in his law firm. I heard that he's not pleased with some of the testimony that some of the lawyers made and said about him in his criminal trial for murder. Cory Fleming is also cooperating and talking, and he's been with Alex in a number of cases. These guys are very powerful people. Joe will tell you, Laurie will tell you, they travel in circles that most lawyers don't travel in. Alex couldn't have done what he did solely by himself. And Dick, the only currency that Dick and Jim have and Alex have now is he willing to come clean? Look, he said that I lied in the Satterfield, Mrs. Gloria Satterfield wasn't tripped by the dogs. What he hasn't said, though, is where did the $3.8 million go? And he hasn't said, how did she fall? So is he talking? And if he does talk, I think he has a lot of information to give.
So you think he's going to talk, Eric? That's a yes.
Somewhere
you think
down
he's
the line, I do.
Interesting. Okay, so his lawyers were very specific, though. They said this is going to be resolved without a trial. So that's why we're near positive there's going to be a plea on this one. Lori Murray, let me go to you next, please. What would he have to gain if he is pleading, already spending his life behind bars? What would he have to gain by throwing other lawyers or judges or whoever it may be under the bus?
Yeah, I don't know what he has to gain. I also don't know what he has to lose. Honestly, this whole thing has been baffling to me. Everybody seems to be out for their piece of the pie. Everybody wants to get a hold of Alec Murdaugh for some reason. The state could be perfectly fine with their prosecution of him, but so could the feds. And the feds do have a lot more power behind their law enforcement and their investigations. But honestly, I don't know what he has to gain. I don't know what he has to lose. I think that we are just sitting here watching the Alec Murdaugh show, and we're all glued to it.